Where are you located?
Living in Portugal.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, I'm in the
Yeah, it's
I'm in the middle of America. I'm in Kansas City. So again, it's great to connect. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for talking about your very interesting world of work and what's going on.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate it as well.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get into your work, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic changed all of our lives. How
Mhm.
did you make it through the pandemic, and how has it changed the way that you live and do things now?
As just a person or
Just, I
as
mean, it was
an
so holistic. Yeah, however you want to delve into it. Yeah, it changed a lot.
well, I had just retired. I had retired less than a year before, and so that was kind of what spurred my husband and I moving to Vegas. We just I had a bad experience at the Bureau. I loved my job, but there was a horrible experience at the end there. And it was like, let's just get away. And so a few months after we get to Vegas, COVID hits.
Yeah.
And so we had always wanted to retire in Europe. But after 6 months of sitting around the house, gets mighty old, as everybody knows. We thought, well, let's see if we can't speed that up. Because we were talking about all things like, let's rent a van and drive around the United States, like just anything to get out of the house. And one day, my husband, he had been talking to a friend who had moved to Portugal from the UK, and I was like everybody. I was sitting there watching Netflix with a cat on my lap, and lounging around too much. And he said, "How about moving to Portugal?" So I went, "All right, let's move to Portugal." So that's what we did during COVID.
Wow.
Yep. So May of 2021, we got over here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear so many people that are living abroad, and I think there's a part of it too of living in this country. There's so much fear, there's so many uncertainties.
Mhm.
It's a very strange time in this country. So I, yeah,
It's yeah, at that point, 2021, gosh, it's hard to it seems like it was yesterday, but
yeah,
then not, when you think about it. Um, I know that there's more people coming. It seems like when you talk to Americans now, some are saying like, yeah, I came over because of everything that's going on in the States. I'm glad we're over here now. I have to do my best not to look at the news. It filters in anyway, because it upsets me, it enrages me. On just a number of levels. Um, so I try not to look at the news too much. Sometimes you just can't help it.
yeah,
Things get through. So
yep.
um, yeah.
So let's get
And
into, oh, I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to talk over you.
Yeah, no, 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 no. I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just getting, I was just wanting to get into exactly now with beyond the writing as a forensic artist. I want to get into that. I want to put you in front of
Okay.
a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day, and I want to present the scenario of a kid in the back of the room saying, "Hey, what do you do for a living? How would you
Oh my
explain
God.
your career?"
My career is I'm an artist that is able to help law enforcement catch bad guys and help victims. And I loved it. It was the absolute best job in the world. I adored it from every side. I loved it. And it's funny because when I was little, I mean, I was an artist. Well, every kid's an artist, but I remember one time watching Hawaii Five O with my dad, and going, "Oh, that would be a cool job, like to draw the sketches of bad guys." And then I saw an episode of Quincy, which I got a whole thing about, but kind of a really unique way my career came together through that episode of Quincy. And I thought that would be a really cool job to, sculpt, because in that episode, an artist was sculpting a face on an unidentified skull. And I was like, that would be the coolest job in the world. But this was 1975.
Yeah,
So, who knows about that? Um, so that's one of my thing too. That when I started a website. It's a different website. That one's gone now. Um, but to help people learn about forensic art and get into the job, because there was no information out there. My new website, which I'm kind of revamping, I will reintroduce all of that information. So, yeah, on my Instagram and my Facebook, which I'm setting up, I'm going to have everything. If anybody wants to know how to become a forensic artist, work in the field, I will absolutely help them. Like, no cost, free advice. I'll talk to you all day about it if you want.
That's wonderful.
It's a great field, and we need more good people. There's AI has affected a lot of things, and it is affecting forensic art, but there's still room. There's still a need for forensic art. There's still
Yeah.
definitely a need for it. So
So let me ask you this. What did you want to be when you were 12 years old? What was your
I
dream job?
no idea, absolutely no clue.
Yeah.
I kind of, everybody was telling me you should be an artist because my mother was a cartoonist, and I was always drawing. Like, I loved art, but mid 70s, being an artist then was, in my mind, like working at an advertising agency, doing drawings or something. That's just all I could think of from, looking through magazines, or selling paintings on the street and starving. And I also didn't think I was good enough. I was like, I can't be an artist. I'm not good enough. My guidance counselor tried to talk me into going to art school, and I'm like, psh. She also tried to talk me into taking a language. She
Yeah.
goes, you're going to need a language for college. And I said, I can't afford to go to college. Like, and she goes, well, take Spanish. And I said, well, what do I need Spanish for? Then I joined the Navy as a linguist, which was hysterical.
Yeah.
I joined as a Russian linguist, which is hilarious considering I wouldn't take a language. I'd never taken one before.
Be
Oh,
careful what you
life.
be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, what were these foundational elements? Take me back to where you were born and raised. What were the seeds that were planted that got you into being an artist and ended up getting into the FBI as a conceptual artist? How did all of the forensic artists, how did all of this happen?
Oh, man. Sort of by chance. And I think my dad would say if I lived my life right, I don't know. My dad was a very strong influence on my life in a very good way. He was wonderful. Um, so my dad was a 26. Well, he was in the Air Force. My whole family is military. And so I was born in Greenville, South Carolina, Donaldson Air Force Base Hospital. And then we moved to Dover, Delaware. And my dad was a jet engine mechanic. So I was one of the few military brats that stayed in the same state for my entire childhood. I mean, normally military kids move around every 2 or 3 years. And we stayed in Dover, Delaware because of my dad's job. They were, I believe, converting the air base, Dover, into an all C-5 airplane base. And my dad was a C-5 jet engine mechanic. So he stayed the entire time. And like I said, my mom was a cartoonist, so I idolized like being a cartoonist. Like, that would be so fun, and I drew all the time. But again, like I said, I never thought I could be an artist, and I'm the last person that would expect to ever work around dead, the deceased, decomposing bodies, things like that, because I was just saying, well, weak stomach, like, ooh, things grossed me out as a kid. I got my brothers to stick the pins in the bugs, like for my bug collection, just ew. But so it's really strange that I got into this field, especially because when I was looking to join the Navy, they actually had an artist illustrator position, but it was one of these jobs that you had to, it's called strike for in the military. So you join without a designated rating, and then you attempt to get into that job, which every military kid knows you do not join the military without a guaranteed school. And I think it's rating because you'll end up chipping paint like you do what the military says. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll be a photographer because that's kind of, art related, in my mind at 17. And I remember my dad said, like, sweetie, you might see some really bad things as a photographer. He's thinking war photographer. So I became a Russian linguist. I saw I had no business being a Russian linguist because I had never taken a language before. This was, end of the Cold War, then 1979. And, but the recruiter just basically said, here's the book, decide, you qualified. I scored well on the aptitude tests. And he said, figure out what you want to do. And for some reason, I picked a Russian linguist. It was called a cryptologic technician interpretive. And in my mind, that sounded really cool. I, you know,
Yeah.
I was seven. I was 17. I was 17 when um, I took the test and all that, and so I signed when I was 18 and was in boot camp a few months later.
Wow. So,
Yeah,
who has been kind of your hero, your inspirational force in life?
for my life, my father, absolutely,
Yeah.
Walter Edgar Brown Jr. Best in everything. He just. I remember when I knew I was going to have to be talking at work. So I joined Toastmasters. Like, God help me, I hated public speaking, never wanted to do it. And the first thing for Toastmasters, your first speaking thing, is to tell basically your talk about yourself. I was like, I don't want to talk about myself, like, ah. And uh, I was talking to a counselor at the time, and she said, why don't you tell them about your dad? Because my dad made me, like all of us kids in our family, our dad was just wonderful for a million reasons. And boy, that it wrote itself. Like in 20 minutes, I've written the whole thing about my dad. So he was he was fair, he was honest, he was a rock. When he said he was going to do something, he did it, he followed through. He had a he couldn't go anywhere without bumping into a friend. It's like he was just my hero. And he was funny. Like we spent our all of us kids we were trying to make my dad laugh, and we'd like make fun of him and tease him and stuff, and he loved it. Like if we could crack a really great joke at his expense, he loved it. He just thought it was hilarious. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
So, if you had the latitude to see any museum, any artist, who's your favorite artist?
I love John Leyendecker, J.C. Leyendecker, and I actually got to see his. I like Norman Rockwell is amazing too, and I didn't appreciate Norman Rockwell as much until I went to see his actual paintings because so much is lost in seeing a print of Rockwell. But always adored J.C. Leyendecker. This was when I was in Virginia, and I'm Googling, like, is there a museum, anything? It's like, well, there's a museum in California. It turned out that there was a special exhibition in Virginia, a mile from my house, at that moment, closing like in 2 hours. And I ran upstairs screaming to my husband, like, Leyen at so I got to see Leyen paintings up close and enthralled. So, yeah, J.C. Leyendecker, Howard Pyle, as far as what I would call more classical illustrators, love cartoons and caricature. So, oh my gosh, Peter DeSav, Carter Goodrich. I'm going to forget what somebody just. I love that. I grew up on cartoons, Bugs Bunny, all that. So
Right
I
on.
love silly.
I love
So
it.
it's pretty strange for a silly person to end up working with skulls and very unsettling things, but somehow, yeah,
Well,
it
how
through a series of events, which I can tell you about if you like. It
well,
happened.
I'm curious, how did you protect yourself? That's a pretty serious world to get into. There's a lot of heavy that goes into it. How
Mhm.
did you protect yourself and what was the motivation every day to do this work and to do it at a high level and protect and take care of yourself?
Uh, Well, one, just work ethic instilled from my dad that whatever I was going to do, I was going to, by God, do the best I could. And then as far as, some of the horribleness, I mean, I started at the Bureau 2 months after 9/11, and that was still like the number one thing. We're working on all the demonstrative evidence for 9/11. Um, just reminding myself, it's like I'm doing this. It's going to sound really corny, but you're working to help people and you're trying to make a difference. I know that might sound trite or something, but it really is true. It's not like I didn't want to look at pictures of bloody bodies. Like when you do a postmortem, you're looking at a photo of usually a very either decomposed or traumatic injuries to a deceased person. Like, I don't want to look at that, but you're trying to help that person. So you just, I would say, it's pixels on a screen. You try to. um, I mean, it would definitely affect me. I mean, my gosh, like, coming home from work after, all the work on 9/11. Like, I wasn't. I do want to shout out to the artists there for those first two. Like, before I got there, I had a very long, twisted, um, like crazy way of getting a delay and getting into the FBI and all that because of a hiring freeze. But they had been working 12-hour shifts, like right as soon as 9/11, man, they were always working. So I came in basically right after those extended shifts stopped and they were back to regular day work. But that was the number one case in the Bureau. Like, I started November 4th, 2001, and um, yeah, that was the number one priority. So I would come home from work just drained because you're doing presentation work for that would literally the president would see, or the for the director of the FBI also. But there were over 3,000 photographs that had to be scanned and cleaned up for all the presentations and then for the demonstrative evidence. And this being 2001, and obviously nothing like this had happened before, there we would get photos that had been scanned two, three, four times. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have. There wasn't as much like you'd have like a digital copy. Any digital copy didn't come from a phone normally. It was somebody had scanned a photograph. So they get really pixelated and awful. So you're just scanning hundreds of photos over the week, and you're looking at all these weddings and birthdays and high school graduations, and then going, that person's deceased. It wasn't anything gory or bloody at that part working on it, but it was just so incredibly, my God, it was so incredibly sad. Just so incredibly sad. Just seeing all those faces. And actually, one person from my previous job had been killed. He was working at the Pentagon at the time on his 2-week Navy Reserve duty. So one of those photographs was a prior coworker. So brings it home.
Yeah.
Brings it home. Yeah.
So
But
writing the I'm sorry, there was a delay. I'm not trying to interrupt. There's a delay and I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
totally fine.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to finish. But I just wanted to ask you this. Writing your book, did it feel cathartic? Did you feel like writing this book gave you some closure and made you feel good and better about kind of living through these different scenarios?
Uh, yes, and it was funny. It's like I had to remind myself, because at one point I was like, well, I haven't really, what have I done? And my sister and my husband are going, holy cow, like, think about the stuff you worked on. And I was like, oh yeah. And I had to kind of go back and think about all the things that I worked on. The time when they thought we were holding bin Laden's skull. Um, I'm sorry, somebody's messaging me and I should have turned my phone.
Yeah, you're
I'm
fine.
trying to stop.
Yeah.
No, stop. Um, the time they thought that they had bin Laden's skull. It's like the first skull I held, they thought it was bin Laden's. Obviously, it wasn't. Um, so that, and then with, a really horrible, and I can talk or not talk about this as much as you want, uh, really bad discrimination and reprisal with a set of supervisors in the second half of my career. First half of my career, I mean, it was fine. Uh, I had a couple of good supervisors, and one especially who really mentored me in forensic art. Later on, not so much. That was a really bad experience. So I wanted to talk about both things because there's so much people don't know about forensic art. It's one of the fields where we need the public to solve our cases. It's not like you can just throw it into a database and, a hit comes up. And I see so much misinformation about facial approximations and, how they identify people and people trying to match up missing persons and unidentifieds based off of what they think they know or have seen on TV. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's done. You can't do it that way. So I wanted to give real life cases. This is how it's done. So you could have the ability to solve a case. Like anybody at any time could see a composite drawing and you could go to, I know that guy. Like it was a neighbor. I don't know if you know or remember the John List case.
Yeah.
In forensic circles, it's of course famous where the age progressed sculpture pin on America's Most Wanted, a neighbor saw it, said, that's my neighbor. So just any old person can solve a case at any time. And especially there's a huge community of people attempting to solve unidentified cases and missing persons through matching online in the databases. And that gets to be a very thorny subject because I know their hearts are really in the right place, but on some things they've been misdirected, So, yeah, I never thought I'd write a book. My God,
Yeah.
it's like it was one of those things that you're kind of compelled to do. So
Absolutely.
it's like I had to write a book.
So let me ask you this. At the end of the proverbial day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of the readers, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Maybe I shouldn't say it. I know I like myself. I think yeah, I think I overthink things. I totally do that. I think I'm a good person, silly sense of humor. My husband teases me because it's like, I'll say, that's not fair, that's not right. So, I like things, I like some things in order. Like when I first got interested in the unidentified and missing persons, I was like, this is crazy that this system is so broken. Like, I want to fix it. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard to
I
talk
think you,
about yourself and go.
yeah, no, I think you did it really well. And I'm curious if anyone wants to pick up a copy of the book, they want to delve into your website, your world, ask questions, any of the good business or work in your world, where do they go?
My book is called Clay and Bones. My life as an FBI forensic artist. My Instagram is called Clay and Bones. And so it's, Amazon, it's everywhere, the book. And my website, which is being revised, but it's Lisa Bailey author. If you Google Lisa Bailey FBI, like I'm there. The FBI, they would put me out for photo ops and interviews all the time. So unfortunately, well, maybe good or bad, the FBI put my name out there, as kind of the talking head of forensic art. So
Right on.
yeah,
Well,
but Clay and Bones.
I did not delve into specifics as you kind of said, just because I want people to get the book. I want them to really delve in to the book. I wanted to give them a flavor. So this has been absolutely wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much for your story.
Sure, thank you.
It's been absolutely wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.